Kale, right, nkwaniza ku the business class. Wetusinzira okweyigiriza ebintu ebiri mu nkola y'emirimu gyaffe gy'ebyobusuubuzi. The business class show nga bw'ogiraba bulijjo wano wali ku mikutu gyaffe ne ku televisions ez'enjawulo yakweyigiza biki by'oteekwa okumanya mu kukola emirimu gy'okola osobola ogiganyulwamu. Tuba n'abantu baffe aba bulijjo n'engeri gye bategeeramu ebintu bino. Tufunayo abakugu kubanga aliwo abaasoma business nga baasoma nsome. Olwaleero ndi musanyufu okuba ne Professor David Kaluya, omusomesa omukugu w'ebyenfuna mu America. Gwe mulundi gwaffe ogwokusatu ng'atuwa omukisa okwogerako naffe wadde obudde abumala mu America gy'asomesa naye okugadde ne bannayuganda ku ngeri gy'oyinza okukola mu business obulungi. Waliwo njala tutegeeza ebintu bikulu ne Professor Kaluya by'oyinza okukola nga business yo etambula bulungi. Naddala gwe omuntu wa bulijjo. Professor, sanyusa okulaba.
Sanyusa nnyo okulaba so. Eradde so.
Byo mugyebale.
Mirimu tukola.
America
tebadde mbi.
Mugirimu bulungi.
Kati bunyogovu.
Esaawa eno bunyogovu. Ekitegeeza bifaanagana naye waffe kubanga naffe kati enkuba yina etonnya muntu aba alowooza nti ffe tunyoga lwa nkuba
ffe tunyogoga birala nnyo. Tubeeramu ne kasino. The degrees really fall beyond zero. Like negative.
Obunyogo. Abantu tebafa.
Nabadde njogera n'omuntu ali above awo mu US ali mu Canada. Nangamba nti there is an expectation of going into -8 degrees.
Is that not too much?
And that is just 3 days ago.
Abantu tebafa. How do you survive?
Tebafa, bagamba you have to equip yourself mu kwambala. Make sure you close most of the areas empewo oyinza okuyingira so that you can have, because you have to eat, you have to go to work and you have to eat, you have to make things flow.
So you cover every part of the body?
Every part. You can end up covering your ears, you cover your head, you can maybe leave the eye part, but you also have gloves. You have very long shoes. For ladies, they can even go all the way to the knee, because sometimes sinavera monji nga inches nga 10 nana 10 like that.
It is terrible. And this problem has happened over the last many years.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me that the Americans and you, the professors, have found no solution to this?
These are weather patterns. Ngabe tunabeera wano mu Uganda n'ogamba nti omusana mungi. This time around, the farmers may not plant anything.
Yeah.
So these are weather patterns that happen every year. Nti tujja kubeera mu spring, ejja kubanga weather ya Uganda wano. Muvaawo mudde mu summer, which is extremely hot. Not the hotness here. The other one is extremely hot because gutana abantu. Okay, so you have to keep a bottle of water, hydrating yourself all the time. ACs ziba zirwaninga. Wane waffe Uganda tetulina ACs mu nyumba, naye mu America whatever na AC mu nyumba, you can die of heat. Yeah, era tufiirwa abantu bangi abakadde, especially n'abaana bato due to dehydration. So eyo summer tubeera ne bagita fall. All the trees, most of the trees lose their leaves, and you may think that they are also going to fall. So
yeah, but you know lwaki mbuuza wano mu Dubai baga nti bali mu desert, bamanya nti bafuna nkuba, bayiya balina kye bayita induced rain
to invent their own rain.
Baga nti kati enkuba egenda kutonya. One would wonder how the Americans and you, the professors, over the last 100 and so years have failed to find a way of mitigating these weather patterns.
I think it is easy to create rain in a desert environment, okay? Ngaba abagundi ba UAE bakola. I've seen a few things in the US, naye nga bya movie, where if we wanted a scene of rain, we can create rain in that area. Netukola scene yenkuba. So enkuba nagenda work actually in that place is in California, where you create the rain and it rains for the duration of that part of the movie that you want. Abamu mutera okulaba ennyonyi nga maybe there was a plane crash in a movie. There's also a scene somewhere there that has that all the time, with the smoke coming all the time. So if we had put attention to, there are certain things you may not prevent. You cannot prevent snow from falling, because snow is simply water that has what solidified. And when it solidifies, it falls on the ground. Okay, so we're falling up ground. There's no way we can prevent that. All we can do is the effects, managing the effects of this snow to humankind. Wakati snow we Zembera, Texas. Ye mulala nnyo talinga mu Northern America. Wafa abeera mu ice like, ate abeera slippery. So if you are driving, there's a possibility of getting into a crash if you have not mitigated the problem. How do they mitigate it? Bayiwa omunnyo ku kkubo, salt, or they can pour sand on the roads so that they can increase the roughness of the tires and the road. To be able to let people go to work, or the alternative is to cancel work and school for a few days until we get out of the storm.
It also happens, and the government says mugenda ku ssomero.
Yeah, so different business entities and organizations make decisions, and for your safety, don't come to work. For your safety, don't come to school, because the weather is not good. Over for the next. So kugamba weather forecast were predicting and this is what we are going to experience.
Abasinga
predicting ebituufu, and it actually happens. Abamu ne predicting and it does not happen when they said it's going to happen. Nayenga, at the end of the day, there is a possibility that work and school is going to be cancelled. Kubanga weather sinungi, especially in the southern part.
Kati bano benda babadduka okuva mu Uganda, ennaku zino omuwendo gw'abagenda mu America ebweru gweyongedde. Abayimbi baffe bagenze, baserebu baffe mu katemba bagenze, bonna badduka bagenda eyo. Batuwa endowooza nti ensi eyo nnungi nnyo okusinga eyaffe. Naye ate bino byonyumya.
Ndowooza, I think it is the economics that is driving them. Byanfuna kubanga ennaku zino abantu abasinga baportrayinga nti here it is good, naye obuzibu obuliwo, we don't know how far this person who is portraying the goodness of this place they have come from. Watandika ddi okutuuka ku level gy'oliko.
Uganda nsi nnungi.
Ogambe nti Uganda nsi nnungi, so that you can encourage the other person who has been succeeding mu Uganda to actually join you. Gwotandika otya. There is always a beginning. Ne bwobeera ng'obadde celebrity wano, ojja kutuuka ekiseera ofune beginning if you decide to relocate. Because ojja kutandikira woli. I've been a celebrity in Uganda, I'm going to the US, I'm going to remain a celebrity.
A celeb, yes.
No.
You become a day there.
So you have to make sure you subject yourself
to a new beginning.
If you're not willing to do that, then that's not a place for you. Tujja kubeera celebrity. Tujja kwebaza okujja tukulabe for the first few days, we shake your hands, You've been entertaining us. Now what? We're sorting.
The business class. Can we have to Professor? Osomeseza ebyobusuubuzi n'ebyenfuna. Wenda myaka 2004
Ena myaka abiri. As of this August this year. Jakuban beze myaka abiri.
Ng'osomesa?
Nsomesa economics. Nsomesa regular business classes. Nsomesa political science. Nsomesa public policy and administration.
Those are your areas.
Those are my areas.
Mbulirako biki ebiwanguzisa omuntu business bye twandiyise ennyingo okuyimirira business y'omuntu yenna kebe ntono kebe nnene.
Business is a discipline. Oba ogambye nti njagala kukola business, it is a discipline. Nti waliwo byoteeka okukola ne waliwo byotateeka kukola ki? Kukola. Kwegamba it comes from an idea. Nti njagala kulima kasooli. Okay? Njagala kulima kasooli. Kasooli ono oli kumulima, you might have an idea about okulima kasooli. Okay, an idea that maybe wajifuna from your influences here and there. Kati bagamba nti kasooli atwala so many months to grow and harvest. However, in order to have a better harvest, these are some of the things that you need to do to be able to have a better harvest. Nti olina okupruninga, olina okukola bwoti, so that the garden is healthy, so that you can uproot or you can harvest better grains out of this field of kasooli. So omuntu wabanga yagala kukola business, I know kulaba what are the areas of concern. That happens in any business. What is sija kwogera bigambo bingi nnyo, because in Uganda I think more than 50% is informal sector. Informal sector means the government does not know we exist, but we do what? Exist.
Kyekitegeza gye tuli eyo oba bakimanyi batebakimanyi naye
gye tuli tukola ensimbi in our own ways. Musika kabalagala ne muteeka wali ku kkubo
n'enjoki
emisoli gyange
nakalama bookya muwogo.
Wano waliwo wayitawo abantu wenjokera, and people love kasooli,
and you trap them.
And you trap them there and they will buy your kasooli there. People love kabalagala, they will pass by, and that person is not, the government does not know that he does that kind of thing, but they are making an income at the end of the day. Akati gwayocha kasooli, katusubire nti oyocha 5 kasoolis in an hour, and then you consume 3 of those. Personal consumption means that you have only 2 to sell, or instead of selling the 5. So you have to sacrifice this that you have said you want to do to make an income. So let's say you oyocheza kasooli at 20 of them in a day. What are you going to do with that income that you've gotten that day? Nizogamba twagalako ekibiriti, twagalako amafuta, twagalako obutto, something like that. Nizogamba nti okay, kanzijeko 20% of today's earnings because I have to feed the family as well. Nogamba nti 80% enda kuziri harvesting amuchi
oba okubeera n'ebyenfuna ebyo ebimanyiddwa ennyo gavumenti. Gwe ngaasomesezza, you know, you have different case scenarios. Economies eziri successful zikozesa kiruwa?
Any government out there in the world would prefer a formal sector, a very vibrant formal sector, because this is where they are going to harvest some tax revenues to be able to finance public projects or public infrastructure. The more, it is very unfortunate that most of the developing countries bali mu informal sector. Ugenda kwesanga nti about 20% or 40% bali mu formal sector. So those 40% or 20%, that is what the government knows. And those are the people paying taxes. Leave alone employees, our colleagues may be government parastatals and private investments, informal sector. But we have quite a number of people. Of course, government jagamba tujja kubakwatira ku VAT. VAT. But that's not enough. I would encourage government of educating abantu until you can actually succeed if you have substantial improvement in this informal business to formalize your business. Because when you formalize your business, you can have access to ABCD that maybe government has created. For example, the banking system we have today is not the banking system we had 20 years ago. We have even more banks in this country than we used to have. So there is a possibility into waliwo access to credit. It could be expensive, but it is there. Or you could also have access to other businesses. I think here we call it chambers of commerce. So collecting businesses in the area to learn different ideas and to network with each other to be able to succeed in the business. Whenever in informal sector, sometimes you may not have these opportunities come along your way. But if
Ninga Uganda febye tusinga okuba nabyo. Kubanga kati katubuuze mu economy, omuntu ayokya kasooli ku kkubo, omuntu ow'enseenene okuva e Masaka, gavumenti emwagaza ki?
Kati the issue is lwaki oyokya kasooli? Kufunamu. Is this what you are going to be doing for the next 20 years?
Abasinga nedda bwenjokya kasooli ne mufunamu ekisinga ku kasooli nga ngenda nakiri.
So this is leading you to the next step. Ndenja kwokya kasooli, bwe nfuna significant amount of money, it can lead me to the next step. Maybe I can go further into agro business. Nensubula mu birime. Nengula kasooli omulala, nemu transforming antu buwunga. Nentunda kati I have a grain mill. To call a chito processing a kasooli ono. Because I had a beginning somewhere ey'okwokya kasooli and I was very focused. I was very strategic.
Nate nayo bemanya abookeza kasooli emyaka 3 ng'asomesezza n'abaana ayokya kasooli. Bisooli gye 10-15 bisooli 2 bwebyo.
Kakati eyo plan ye yali yakusomesa abaana. That was an economic well-being. Tebalina strategic goal nti bajja kukola kino, abaana bajja kukola ki? Bajja kukikola. Even if it wasn't your dream, perhaps your dreams could manifest from your what? From your children.
The business class tuli ku nnyingo eziyamba omuntu okola obulungi business. Otubulidde esooka nti business is a discipline, ogitunnyonnyodde ebirala ebikolwa kye bayita business, the do's and don'ts.
So because we are in informal sector, to tukiita sole proprietorship. Ebenanga sole proprietorship nti nze nanyini business ate nze business. Bwe mba siriiwo
business
tajja kutambula.
Bwete butambula mu Uganda.
So I must be available all the time for the business to move forward. Okay? Ekirala kiri nti if I'm no more, the business eriki?
No more.
Maybe my children will pick it up. But your children might have different aspirations, not necessarily. Obuzima obulala, you limit yourself nga nkubulidde nti you can have access to credit if you're in informal sector. So obeera mu informal sector, sometimes these advantages of maybe accessing credit, they start being a hindrance to you. So you're not going to grow as much as you wanted to grow.
Batulabula bulijjo nti weewala okutandika business ng'ogolera okwewola. Gwe ng'omusomesa w'ebyenfuna kiri advisable omuntu okwewola atandike business?
Kwegamba saagala kugamba nti weewole 100% to start a business. You must also n'omuntu kangambe nga loan office oba ki ajja kubuuza what is your business plan. Yamba ntunule business plan eyo naye ndabe mu business plan eyo nga financing yona eri ku credit. I may have to doubt you. You have the plan, but you are saying that we finance 100%. What are you contributing, you, when any business, into this plan of yourself? Are you contributing 20%, 30%, 40%? So that if tukuyambeko with a certain percentage, uliokokolechi otandike oba continuing. Sometimes we can begin first. We generate some revenue. Bank kolechi tulabe nti tukolachi to at least we have started and we are making some money, and we can look. They can see your balances, monthly balance. If this person is able to raise maybe 20,000 shillings in a rolling monthly basis as a balance, then we are likely to give them this amount of money, because they can maybe pay us on that 20,000, they can pay us 10,000 shillings every month. I'm using 10,000 because I've only given the rolling balance is 20,000, but it could be more.
Is it easy? Omuntu okuwangaza business ye neyimirirawo ku looni? Lwaki mbuuza? Mu Uganda katulina banks nyingi n'abawola ensimbi bangi. Kitegeeza kyanguyira buli omu okwewola. Waliwo n'abatugamba ne ku masimu kati telecom companies buli omu awola ssente. Naye ate gye tukomye okufuna abatuwola, business gye zikomye okugwa. Obuzibu buli luddawa?
I think waliwo n'obuzibu. Okwewola is okay, but you also have to be very strategic mu kwewola. Wegamba, it's also discipline in one way or the other. What am I using the money for? Am I using the money to grow the business, oba sentence channelinze mu bintu birala? Wegamba, olina okuba ne plan. Nogamba nti ngenda kwewola sente zino, but I need this money to lead me to this. And by the time I get to this, I should be able to have paid what? This loan back, so the business is self-financing. So the value of the loan is going to be to your benefit if you are utilizing it to make more money. Naye bw'odivertinga sente
eyo yebeera endowooza ya buli yeewola, naye ate bawunzika yeewoze mufo ky'okwongera ogaziya business n'ogyongerako value. Abasinga obungi n'abantu abanene wano ewaffe, ate business zigudde bugwi.
What are the priorities? What are the priorities? Are you borrowing to actually put the money in the business, or you are borrowing to pay another loan?
Enabitu bikola.
That is not good.
Anti ndaba finka enemeddeko nenewola mu pula inesasula finka.
Okay, kisinza ku interest rate. If the interest rate ya finka is lower, newola mu finka no paying off the high interest loan, you are good.
Ezawa ne abasinga babeera mu sente zezimu.
However, obanga weewozeza business, I would advise you sente ziteeke mu business, not to go ahead and pay off the other debt. Take a business to grow more money.
Government esobola okuteekawo ekkomo ku magoba omuntu kwe yeewolera. Can government cap interest rates?
So interest rate is set by supply and demand of money. How much money do we have to lend, and how much money is being borrowed, over how much money is being offered. I think we have discussed this before. Nengamba nti, much as we have all these banks, we may not have enough enough depositors who are willing to put that money in the bank, so the banks can use it to actually multiply more money. So buli bank zinabeera nga tezina enough money to lend out, the interest rates are also going to be what? To be higher. Secondly, over the last 2 years, I think interest rates have been influenced by what is happening in the global market. If you have read about the US, inflation evadde waggulu around 8%, and that has caused the central bank over there to try to contract the economy, to reduce this inflation. So they have been withdrawing money out of the economy, and you can only do that by increasing interest rates. So that has also had an influence to the credit here as well, because the credit became expensive domestically here as well, because either there is less money coming into the country, and there is also less money that our depositors are making into the bank. So at the end of the day, omuntu ayagala okwewola ajja kwesanga nti interest rate is very high.
How can we increase deposits in the banks?
Educate the public the value of banking. Yeah.
Tuteke sente zaffe mu bank.
Tuteke sente mu banka.
To the contrary, many people are running away from...
Ne banks nazo zino kuba incentive. Why am I banking with you? You have to have an incentive. Why am I banking with you? What mfunamu ki? So you need to educate me. Well, we can secure your money. Instead of putting it under your mattress, you can give it to us.
Well, that's all we get.
Yeah. Ne tuzikuuma naye netukwayo ka interest akali awo akatono.
No, the solid banks here don't actually.
We can monitor your relationship with us, and then in the future, you want to do something, we are the people you can come to. Maybe oyagala kugula ttaka, oyagala kuzimba nyumba, oyagala kukola business. We know you've been banking with us. So those are some of the incentives that the banks need to be marketing. So
saying that the cost of credit in Uganda, which is high in Uganda, is because people are not depositing money in the bank?
We don't have enough money in the banking system, in the economy, to go in the banking system. Because formally, you borrow from the bank. And that's the formal sector we are talking about. And that is going to be influenced by how much money is in the banking system.
But I see even government borrows from these commercial banks.
Yeah,
government in a sense.
Government all over the world borrows.
Sure.
Yeah.
America. Government yewola.
Nze nsomesa economics. Government in America owing the general public about $23 trillion.
$23
trillion.
Government in America
owes the public about $23 trillion.
Eyine banja mu bantu
abali mu America. The domestic debt is about $23 trillion.
Na America yewola eyine banja.
Yes.
Anti figure tuli mu 97 trillion. 97 public debt is 97 trillion Uganda shillings. Something like I don't know, like 3 something trillion US dollars.
Akati US yo eri $23 trillion domestic debt. Kati gattako external debt, which is around $7 to $8 trillion. Is a sente.
Professor, kati America bwe bakwoleva yewolawo. Fe wano twewola mu World Bank, mu IMF, kati yate yewola. Tulowooza nti be bali yo yewolawo.
Ne America yewola mu World Bank nayo.
Really?
Nayo yewola yo. America also borrows from the rest of the world.
Are you for real?
Yes. America has Chinese debt. America has Mexico debt. America has Canadian debt. America has debt from Africa as well. And when we put all that number together, it's about $7 to $8 trillion.
On top of the 23.
On top of the 23.
That's roughly $30 trillion in total debt.
We may be counting 33. The last I checked, I think it was about $32 trillion. That is the debt, government debt, to the different lenders, both domestic and external debt.
is it good for, how good is it for governments to borrow? Government yaffe ya Uganda yeewola buli kiseera ne juice yeewola. Just how good is it?
The goodness in borrowing is what you use the money for. I saw potential to develop their infrastructure with borrowed money. That is if they are putting that money there. Tulime enguudo, tuzimbe amalwaliro, tuzimbe amasomero, tuzimbe, we gamba about it, but if I'm living in Ntinda and it's going to take me 2 hours to get to office, that's a cost. Not only to me, but also to the economy. It's a cost. Now, how many people live in Ntinda?
A number.
A number. So if we have very brilliant, not brilliant, let me not use the word brilliant, creative academicians wano mu nsi eno ya Uganda, and we try to compute these numbers, it was our government, and actually the cost of traffic in Kampala alone is so much trillion Uganda shillings. Maybe they can respond. Because that cost in itself is too much for this economy to lose. So what are we doing about it? How can we get people to offices early? By creating, I hear you are creating flyovers. Omuntu agenda Entebbe, ajja mu kibuga, agenda wabona bali ku the same road. We need to separate that. If you are going far away from the city center, use this high road ogende jogenda. Don't congest us here, bagende. That reduces the cost and improves on our GDP in the long run. You know, kubalira, what is affecting this GDP? This traffic problem is affecting our GDP. First of all, I'm spending money kumafuta.
True.
Secondly, I'm losing time.
True.
If I'm supposed to be at the office at 8 and start working and produce, but I'm getting to office at 10 a.m., we have lost 2 hours of production. So we need to start looking at things that way. Nti omuntu lwabera ku mulimo on time, it is better, or it is good for the economy. It is increasing our GDP.
How can government steer out of debt? Kubanga actually mu Uganda kati wetwogerera olutalo oli buli muntu mweraliikirivu ebbanja Uganda kwe yeewolera buli lunaku ensimbi nyingi. I told you it's now 97 trillion shillings of debt. And
so I don't speak for the government of Uganda. Naye debt, if not well utilized, where are we putting this money? And how is this money going to create more money for us to be able to expand the economy? Because the economy is still very, very small.
Well, nobody's answering that. Nobody's telling us that.
Yeah,
not parliament, not any, but nobody's telling us.
The economy is very, very small. But if we invest in productive areas, okay, if we invest money in these productive areas, we can make more money. So that their debt will be useful. You cannot start borrowing money to pay people's salaries. That means your economy is poor. The economy needs to produce those salaries to pay the people, not relying on debt. Debt needs to be used to create infrastructure projects. There is a lot of social media clips zogera ku binya ebiri mu Kampala oba ebiri mu nsi ya Uganda, especially Kampala here. You know, all that is a cost. So if we are not borrowing to fix these problems, and what are we fixing? Are we fixing or we are fixing something that is sustainable over a period of time?
As a Ugandan, where do you think government of Uganda should invest this borrowed money? if you are to advise them, because you have capacity.
Yeah, to me, I think I will go back to the same infrastructure. Ebintu ebiyamba omuntu wa bulijjo to access their production area quickly.
Government will tell you they have done that. They have been trying to work out. The road infrastructure in Kampala may be poor, but up country, roads have been worked on.
I've heard of that model, which was good. I had the president talk about that a few weeks ago. It's a good model. Okay? However, you cannot neglect the city, which is actually the face of the country. It's okay, you can develop up-country road infrastructure or road network because it gives you less time to access the center.